as we go through this section of the story, a lot of this section has to do with Jim and, of course, just the aftermath of what happened. So there are a couple of key incidences here, and most of these key instances do not necessarily have to do anything with the September 11th attacks. They have to do a lot with our character and them being significant to him. So this is just a slightly different view at what key incidences might look like when you're reading a story, because they don't necessarily have to be just for the plot or for the sequence of the story. They can focus in more on why is this important to the character. Here we go. I slowly made my way north, hoping to find security and peace in the village. I walked and walked, stopping occasionally at the occasional car. I hope that all makes you feel better, that I read that wrong 3 times. With doors open, the radio playing loudly. At each car, 40 people stood, listened. The Pentagon gasped. 2 planes gasped. I finally sat in the park and just, sat. So we got a little bit of characterization here, and in this part you have to kind of think about, you have to infer, is what I'm actually trying to say. You have to infer what is going on in Jim's head, slash what is going on with Jim. Jim has just had a very traumatic event happen to him, and then he's just being surrounded by the event. So I want you to just kind of think about in this moment when you highlight this, what is going on in Jim's head and what's going on with Jim. And then move from there. Think about how you would feel after all this happened to you and you just sat in the park. I got up and walked east and sat my butt down in a bar named Bernie Mac's. I finally have a home with 2 phones, 2 televisions, company, and as much beer as I could consume. Calling Kathy, I checked in again and asked her to locate Nate, my traveling companion, to inform him of my newfound home. So I'm going to highlight this right here because I feel like this whole thing is a key incident. And I really want you to focus on the word home. Right then, he uses that word. And then, why is this moment important to Jim? So when we think about this key incident, we're really focusing in on why is this particular moment important to him. The rest of Tuesday was spent with Nate, drinking beer and trying to forget the day, anxiously locating a hotel room, finally eating our first meal. Nate had been in the embassy suites when the attack started, but had gone outside to see the second plane hit. He and I stayed awake until 4 a.m. After a restaurant owner took us back in, fed us, and filled us with alcohol and essence, held us until we could sleep. So again, we have a little bit of more characterization here as well as what's going on. And so in this, we're really seeing a breakdown here of just how Jim is dealing with that initial trauma, which is honestly not all that crazy. He's eating, he's drinking, he's just trying to handle it, and now he finally has a little bit of company. Kind of goes in with why this up here was important. Wednesday morning at 7 a.m., after a restless 3-hour sleep, turning on the television, I began to see new videos of planes hitting the World Trade Center. One specifically showing the second plane striking our building around the 64th floor. Hit me especially hard. I could easily have stayed on the 64th floor and watched the action, but Sandy had gotten everyone out, and I lost it. So this is a key incident. And this one you have to think, what impact did this moment have on Jim? So again, we have to think about why is this an important moment for Jim? So it's not necessarily moving the story along. It's not moving him and Nate to the next part of the story, but it is very important to Jim that this happened. And so we really want to focus in why is this important to Jim that this happened. So let me highlight it in blue. And then of course, but Sandy had gotten everyone out. So again, I have another little piece of my theme right here. So I'm going to go theme sight. I'm going to put he's acknowledging Sandy. So he's acknowledging Sandy again. So every time he acknowledges someone, it's often in some type of feeling of gratitude, it seems like. So just think about that. And what is Jim's theme for this story? A previous 24 hours had had no real impact on the outside, but inside I was a mess. On the phone to Kathy again, we cried and shared our desire that I was home and far away from New York City. So we got a key incident here. How do you think this will move the story along? So in this moment, we have this key incident. I want you to think about why that this particular incident is going to move the story along. The next 24 hours, Nate and I were in survival mode, finding clothes, toiletries, chargers for our cell phones, and my credit card, which I had left at the restaurant. On Wednesday night, we ate a steak and drank a bottle of Silver Oak, trying to appreciate the fact that we are still alive. And now it was time to get our butts home. Okay, so again, we have a little bit more characterization about him right here. I'm going to leave that to you to highlight and tell me a little bit about, but we're learning more and more about Jim and how he's dealing with this struggle. So we're about in our final little section. It's a long one, but we'll work our way through it. And so you guys will hear me on the drive home.